Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you the top 6 bundles that if you're spending in Rise of Kingdoms, you ought to be getting these bundles and pop-ups before you buy other stuff. And if you aren't getting these or haven't been, time to reconsider your choices because these are the highest value. Now you can trust my guidance on this because I've spent over, at this point, probably $150,000 in Rise of Kingdoms. As of last year, I think it was last year, I'd spent at least that much in Rise of Kingdoms and Call of Dragons combined. If I'm not over 150K in Rise of Kingdoms, I got to be pretty close. 36 billion kill points, 151 million power right now. Highest was 216 million power. I don't know. You're probably subscribed to my channel, so you already know. You use the timestamps to jump to whichever part you'd like, and you already saw the videos on how much I spent in the game. But if not, I'll include a card in the end screen. You go check it out at the end of this one. So this video is going to do 3 things. We're going to talk about when you spend, because, obviously, timing matters. We're going to talk about what your spending priorities ought to be, like how to think about spending, which I know is going to sound weird, but once you hear it, you're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And then number 3 is going to be the priorities I have for you for the bundles, all right? So I just, before we get into all this, just keep in mind, we are talking about, spending your real hard-earned money for pixels in a video game. And, look, hey, as a big spender myself, I understand why you might want to go do that. I just want to say, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but consider your financial priorities before you go on a spending tear in a mobile game. All right. Things like saving for retirement, having an emergency fund, prioritizing your family. Okay. And if you're I don't know what to do to save for retirement, you could do a Google search and you'd be surprised at all the wealth of information that's there. Okay. So all of that out of the way, let's talk about timing. Timing matters a ton because the game's going to have these things right over here called recharge events, all right? A recharge event, depending on the structure of the event, will require you to either buy a certain amount of gems per day for 5 different days. In this case, it's 2,500 gems worth of raw gems from bundles, not tokens of gems, but raw gems from bundles. Over the course of 5 different days, you need to do that 2,500 number. Other recharge events work differently, and you go in and you spend a smaller amount over 3 days, or you go in and you need to hit a certain gem total across all the days, and it could be from any day you do your purchases. These recharge events give great rewards above and beyond what you were already getting, and I always like to think about bundles in terms of well, what's the value, baby? So this is a huge multiplier on the value you're getting from your bundles, obviously, because you get all this other stuff on top of it. So timing is going to be very critical, and my small account, which I can show you briefly, is what I would call a recharge spending account. So this account is 100 million power. It's my small account. I know, so small. And all I buy on this one is during recharge events, sometimes, not even always, but sometimes, and also I buy crystal technology. Now, crystal technology is another thing we need to talk about that's important for timing. And you can see I didn't even bother to fully do the recharge event on my restart account, my small account, at this exact moment. But crystal technology is an end game system. When you get into KVK, okay, you choose a story, you get in there, and you buy crystals for temporary technology gains. If you aren't already in the end game, it's like your academy all over again, but there aren't exactly troop tiers. It's just going to be buffs, okay? Specifically, mostly combat buffs. And the people who buy this crystal technology will have a huge advantage over those who do not, obviously. So I treat this account as a recharge spending account and also a crystal technology spending account. Now, we'll talk about crystal technology and how much you spend on that a little bit later on, but it's very important we talk about that because that is one of your very top priorities in the end game, regardless of your level of spend. And we'll share kind of why that is, okay? And then lastly, with regard to timing, there are a bunch of limited time bundles, okay? These often do not count towards recharge events because they don't give raw gems. And this is a very, let's be real, okay? This is a very common sales tactic to do time limited, buy now, and then it goes away forever. There's a bunch of these that are super, super valuable and are above average. For example, there's going to be a bundle for a set of gathering equipment that is for sure a cut above what you typically get. I've got it equipped somewhere, maybe here, right? Some of this epic stuff, yeah, I think it's got inscriptions on it, maybe. I don't know. The point I'm trying to make is that these bundles are going to show up. Some of them are really good. If you want to see my review of the majority of these bundles, I've got spending videos from prior years where I've like gone in and tried to evaluate the majority of these pop-ups. It might have even been in like 2022. I know, I've been playing this game for 7 years. It's crazy. Consider subscribing. But some of them are really good, like, for example, Writer of History, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And that you can get more consistently when you unlock a new legendary commander. Other of the pop-ups are really less value, where they will be higher value than like these super value bundles, but less value than the majority of stuff that most people will go and spend on. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at the pop-ups for how important they really are. All right. Now, at the risk of stating the obvious, let's talk a little bit about spending priorities as I switch back to my main account here. Okay. But the way that I think about spending in this game and prioritizing my spending is that I want to invest in the things that are a multiplier for my trade quality on my account. Okay, what does that mean? It means I take less sev wounds and the enemy takes more, which means I need more stats, I need better commanders, I need, therefore, better equipment, I need better armaments. If you're in the end game, you know what that is. If you're in the early game, I think you only get that around KVK Season 2 at this point. But I really value trade effectiveness. So when I prioritize bundles, I don't put priority to things I could get other ways. I'm not going to prioritize resources. I'm not going to prioritize speed ups because, as I can show you, like, I'm going to be getting some amount of speed ups and resources from just doing barb forts, and then these treasures of crystal are going to show up. Or even, like other people spend in the Alliance, I'm not going to get armaments from here. I'm not going to get materials from here, but I am getting speed ups, you see? So I like to prioritize my spending on the things that improve my trade quality. That generally means I'm trying to get percentage points for stats, and I'm trying to have more commanders that are maxed out so that I can do stuff like this. That's my game plan. And it seems silly to like say that, but like resources and speed ups are obviously important for open field fighting, but you can't get certain things free to play as easily as other things. And so for me, that means I shifted, once the armament system showed up, a lot of my spending into armaments because not only am I a rally and a garrison here, but you like can't go gather at a resource node to get your armaments, right? Obviously, like you know, can't just like run around the map and get a bunch of armaments. So you're going to see when I talk about these priorities that I've skewed a little bit in that direction of like going for that kind of stuff. All right. Now, the last thing we need to talk about with regard to spending priorities is crystal technology. I said I would revisit this, and here we are revisiting it. Like, how much do you really need for crystal tech? In the end game, you're going to enter into KVK. We're about to enter into a KVK now. We're in the Eve of the Crusade, duking it out here for a top rank. But you're going to enter into KVK probably 3 to 4 times a year. Okay, your kingdom can choose when they register, but they can only skip so many times. So you're going to get into KVK 3 to 4 times per year. If you are a rally or garrison, which most people should not be and should not aspire to be, you're looking at in the realm of $1,000, typically more than that, per KVK on crystal technology, which goes away at the end of the KVK, but you do get season coins you can use for some rewards. So like there is something you keep as a result of all that spend, and it is dramatically improving your trade quality. It's just kind of a temporary boost. All right. If you are an open fielder and you are in an Imperium kingdom, if you zoom out, young kingdoms, it's probably like a star kingdom, but this little icon that I actually don't know what it is. It's an up arrow. It's a mushroom. It's a house. It's a bird. It's a plane. I have no clue. But this icon, which someone's going to be like, Chisgule, obviously it's this thing that everyone can see. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Let me know in the comments. But I think it's just an up arrow with like a weird line under the triangle-y part. Anyways, maybe I just need glasses. These are Imperium kingdoms. Okay. And if you're in an Imperium Kingdom and you want to open field, plan to spend like $600 on crystal technology. That's like $125 on the pop-ups you get at the start of the KVK, and then like 2 Mountain Warfares and maybe some other stuff too. Okay, Mountain Warfare is a special bundle that pops up when a pass opening is about to happen, and maybe more than that, depending on your level of commitment to open fielding. Okay, and if you are in an A kingdom, okay, my restart, my small account is in 2293. It is just, oh shoot, we're Imperium now. Damn. Well, anyways, we flipped Imperium, boys. We did it. So if you're in a kingdom, just shy of being in an Imperium, you should expect to, if you want to be successful, to spend like on the crystal technology that are in the pop-ups. All right, so it's like $125 at the start of KVK. And sometimes you also want to buy a Mountain Warfare on top of that. So that's another like $200 on top of that. So in the realm of like 330 to 350, somewhere in that realm, is what you would plan to do if you are in an A strength kingdom. Now you could do less than that and be fine. There are people that play free to play in these kingdoms and they do what they do. And like, I'm just saying, based on my experience, that has set me up for success and feeling like I'm trading well, or as well as I can in these situations, and I'm getting some amount of bang for my buck. With all that said, let's rank the stinking bundles, baby. Here we go. At number 6, the top 6 bundles in the game. I consider putting it higher, but I'm putting the daily special offer at number 6. This bundle is so good. If you're not buying the daily special, but you're buying any of these super value bundles, okay? There are some exceptions like passports. Maybe you need some transmutation crystals or some conversion stones. But if you're maxing out, some of these bundles and you're not doing the daily special offer, my friend, you are doing it wrong. Now, this is a little bit of the, if you're an older player of the game, okay, the frog getting boiled in the pot and not realizing the water got turned up. They discounted this bundle. It used to be $5 to get all 3 of these guys, I think. And then now it's like just $3. And that is an insane difference. That is a huge percent discount. Okay. I did the math on what on average you would expect to get, okay, from the daily special offer. If you did $385 worth of spending on the daily special offer, which is the same that it would cost to max out, Imperial armaments, or if you were doing, hopefully, most people aren't doing War Machine, right? Like, it's the same amount of dollars to max out these different bundles, okay? Over the course, it is going to take 128 days to do. So anytime you're getting value over time in these games, typically that means you're getting more, but your cost was time. You're not getting it as fast. Okay, so you get, for the 385, about 64,000 action points, 75, just shy of 75 days worth of speed ups, which, by the way, typically you get like 60 days worth of speed ups for 385 in a bundle. You get 96,000 VIP points. Okay, you get 128 gold keys, an average of 577 legendary commander sculptures. Holy cow. For 385, 577 legendary commander sculptures for the commander that you've chosen from here. All right. You get 154,000 gems, just about, for the 385. Yeah. Folks, the daily special offer is busted, especially because in KVK, you use action points to get crystals, which is a crystal technology advantage against your opponents, which is a multiplier for your speed ups and resources. So yeah, daily special offer is a top tier priority for anyone who spends on any of the more expensive bundles for sure. And if you wanted a commander, then it's really high value as well. If you're actually going for one of these commanders too. Even if you aren't, it's like, well, still a good bundle. And at times I've, not been going for any of the commanders. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'll just not do it. Nope. Daily special offers absolutely goated. If you want to see the detailed math around this and the bundle that shows up behind it, I'm going to have a card in the end screen. You go check that one out. I've got the full details there. Now, this brings us to the Writer of History bundle at number 5 in the top 6 bundles here. And I think I've got them ranked correctly, but you can let me know in the comments. But when you unlock a legendary commander for the first time, which now we've done, the Writer of History shows up, okay? You get some of these things for free. All right, sure, a gold key and a star. But then behind the paywall, you've got 10 legendary commander sculptures. The thing is that you can pick any commander you want, so you can't unlock the commander with these, but I think for $5, 10 legendary commander sculptures, and they're universal, so you can apply them to whichever commander you want, is pretty legit. It used to be that all the recharge events were oriented towards giving you these universals. They switched it in a way that is less favorable to players, where you can pick a commander you've already unlocked, but you're not getting universals, which is definitely just worse. So universals are in some ways more valuable. In other ways, I will point out that it's easier to get commander sculptures than it used to be. This is much less of a bottleneck than it used to be. So I think this is still great value. Money where my mouth is. I'm going to buy this thing from here. By the way, I didn't talk about Flux scripts, but if you go to the official Rise of Kingdoms site, it's store.lilith.com/rock. You can buy these things called Flux scripts. You basically pre-purchase your bundles, and then when you're ready, you exchange them. So I'm giving a $5 Flux script for this $5 bundle, okay? The reason you do it is you get about 10% extra value in terms of these coins, which you also can exchange for bundles, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to go in and do this now. We'll make this purchase. Money where my mouth is. Writer of History obtained. GG, okay? From here, let's go to number 4. And it's funny because in my notes here, put honorable mentions, and I forgot to do them. Honorable mentions for purchases would include the speed up supply and the material supply. I mentioned earlier in the video that, like, I don't want to spend on things that I can get free to play, running around at like a pretty moderate pace. And, you know, maybe speed ups and materials are not so fast to get free to play, but, you know, if I really was suffering for it, I could go and AoE barb farm and commit many hours of my time for a moderate amount of materials and speed ups. But, like, the point I'm trying to make here is they're honorable mentions, but they don't make the top list. But for me, what makes the top list, again at number 4, is the 7-day armament supply. And the reason is that it's very difficult to accelerate the pace with which you get armaments. And so this is a fairly value-oriented way of increasing your armament quality at a moderate price. The thing that I like about this is you combine it with a recharge event, and then suddenly the value seems really, really good. You double dip or triple dip here by combining with other things like Alliance Mobilization, where you get credit for doing spending depending on what quests you get. And now we're starting to head in the right direction of how I treat these armament supply purchases, okay? The thing about armaments is that the worse your armaments are, the more value you get per dollar that you spend on armaments, because you're more likely to get something that's actually an upgrade. The better your armaments are, the less likely you are to get an upgrade. And so the worse your value is per dollar, because you're far less likely to actually get an upgrade. I mean, the honest truth about these loot boxes is that they are loot boxes, right? Like there's no way around it. There's no sugarcoating to it. It's a loot slot machine, and you either did or did not get an upgrade. And the process of trying to progress an armament from being almost better than what you have to definitely better if you just change this one stat around could end up also being really unlucky in the loot slot machine of that system as well. So this is, you know, my least favorite progression system in Rise of Kingdoms, but I still give it the shout out it deserves at number 4 for like top bundles to go and buy for value over time, especially for your account. All right. Now this brings us to the number 3 I think, best bundle in the game. And it's funny because, you know, look, like we're not including every single pop-up that, you know, shows up only once and you can't get with any regularity. But like Lucerne Scrolls shows up every month and it's got so much stuff in it. And I originally had this rated higher, but I had to bump it down a little bit because in the spirit of what I was saying earlier, like, yeah, you're getting speed ups and resources and like gold heads. And essentially when you do this upgrade, there's a lot of really good stuff you're getting. And if you needed the top tier reward, which is a blueprint choice chest, now it's a really high value. Okay. But for $5, it is hard to beat the value you're getting from Lucerne Scrolls. I think technically you can beat it. And these next couple, I think, beat the value here, depending on how you use them. And you'll see what I mean in a second. But Lucerne Scrolls is really good value. For $5, you can combine this with an Alliance mobilization event that requires you to get Alliance chests, because this does give a chest to your Alliance when you buy it. Okay. And I combine that with like the daily special offer. All you have to do is that plus this, and that's like 4 chests that you've given to your Alliance, and you get your quest done. So this is really high value, depending on what's in it. I think this does change based on like what season you're in. But I mean, look, this got the armament crates. It's got sovereign keys. It's got army expansions. The transmutation crystal can be valuable, but for a lower spender account, you know, you will eventually have a lot of these. All that to say, really high value. This clocks in for me at number 3. Number 2, we're going to go back to the supply, and we need to talk about the gem supply. And the reason I ranked this higher is that I think for $10, going in and getting 2,200 gems immediately toward a recharge event and 19,500 gems over time, so like 21,700 gems for $10 is really good value. And if you time this with a really good event, I think that having the gems is probably more value than Lucerne Scrolls, because it lets you get laser focused on things you actually need for your account. Gems are obviously powerful for that. But during the right events, I think you can get a really good multiplier for your gems, right? So the way to think about this 30-day gem supply is twofold, okay? Gems are, in a way, a multiplier on your dollar when deployed correctly. And because this is a supply, you have to earn these over time, and time is also typically a multiplier on your dollar in this style of game. So you use these right, you get really good value. A lot of people probably won't, and maybe Lucerne for them is higher value, but use your gems wisely, my friends, and you get some really good stuff here. And the number 1 bundle, I actually have to go to a brand new-ish account to show you. And this is going to be the Growth Fund. And this is like a new player thing, and all the old players are like, okay, Chisgule, like, come on, I bought that ages ago. It's like, of course you did, because the value is really high. But the Growth Fund is super high value as your City Hall levels up. Because as your City Hall levels up, you get more gems. For $15, okay, look at this, 40,000 gems at the top end. Dude, it's crazy. So you could buy it now. You do have to be VIP 5 and above, which I didn't remember being a requirement. But based on your City Hall level, you get gems. And so over time, your City Hall level will go up, and the higher amounts of gems then become available to you. So I could buy it now, and then when I hit, you know, City Hall 25, boom, I got 40,000 gems. Okay. Sick. Right? But you know, the grand total gems here, I don't know, I'd have to add it all up. But you're looking at what, like 60, 70, probably like 80,000 some gems for $15? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's more gems per dollar than the, gem supply, but You got to get to City Hall 25. There's honestly like so many videos that I want to show to you about spending. Maybe I'll make a playlist for you and put it in the end screen. All right. And you can cruise through that playlist and you can see. I think I can do that. If not, I'll have a couple videos over here. All right. One is going to be how much I spent and what I spent it on. And the other will be the playlist. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. And leave a comment down below with any other bundles I might have missed. There might be another one that should have been in here. So leave it in the comments. I'll pin the best one.